Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's time once again for Closing the Wealth Gap. The one show, maybe the only show that shows you how to close the wealth gap in your own life with the man who's done it for many, our wealth coach himself, Tyrone French. Hey, Tyrone.
I'm your host, Tyrone French. Thank you for tuning in today. Glad to have you here. And what I'd like for you to do is download my free app. It's free, absolutely free. Just go to TyroneFrench.com. That's my website, Tyrone at TyroneFrench.coach. Or if you want to text it, just go to Tyrone French or text Tyrone French to 36260. You will have my coaching platform in the palm of your hand. It's full of my blog is there, my newsletter is there, my calculators are there, and you have access also to a world-class financial plan, which a lot of those, like a registered financial advisor, could literally charge you around $1,500 for a plan that's not as near, it's nowhere near detailed and user-friendly as my plan. Again, I priced it to whereas everybody could afford it.
So how much is it again? Tell me how much it is.
Absolutely.
Oh, come on. I know when you get in there, there's an upcharge and a special. Nothing's free anymore. Come on. No free lunch.
My thing, Paul, is I want to help as many people as I can. And, when I started out in this, coaching, the wealth coaching and with New York Life and working with the 1%, I realized that they're going to be fine. It's the other 99% that needs a little push.
Yeah.
And so whatever I can do to help them to get started and actually, because it's a journey, when you're talking about generational wealth and wealth in general, it's not a destination. It's a journey. And you're passing that, you're on that journey, you're passing it down from generation to generation. And it's the knowledge, you get this information. But what I found in my 30 years of experience in financial planning, I don't care how much information you have to apply it.
Yeah.
It's the doers.
It's the doers. But it does help if you grow up in a family that talks about this and teaches you how to do it early on. And that doesn't have to be just the 1%ers. We had a guest on the show earlier today, and she was talking about how they were very poor, they're very Hispanic, they came to this country, didn't have a nickel in their pocket, but they had a dream and a determination not to be like everybody else, to do something. And eventually they found a way to scrape together some pennies. They borrowed $1,000. They rented a little space, started a business, yada, yada, yada. And somebody asked him, why you out of everybody did you do it? And he said, because my father always told me, don't work for somebody the rest of your life. Now, they're very poor. That's all they knew. That's everybody they knew. But he saw it different. He taught them different, and that led them to act different.
Exactly. And again, that's the story of the everyday person.
Right.
And the philosophy here is, it's ordinary wealth for everyday people.
Yeah, I love that line. Yeah.
And when I say ordinary wealth, everything compounds. And so a lot of people decide that they don't have the resources. They don't have the network. They don't have all the things in
the
place.
Knowledge, the experience.
Yeah.
Right.
And so they do nothing.
Right.
And so they wait. I mean, it's like my book. I wrote a book called Closing the Wealth Gap.
Right.
And I wrote that book for the teenagers, people that are in high school or the college age, to whereas once they get that information and then they act on it, meaning they take the baby steps, they have so much time in front of them that we're talking before they retire, 30, 40, 50 years before they begin to access that money. Well, just based on that, the compound effect alone will guarantee that they're going to be multimillionaires.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything has a compounding effect. So just like me and my family, I'm first generation wealth in my family.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to go against the norms based on what my dad thought. I mean, I was working for McDonnell Douglas as a quality assurance administrator.
Stay there for 40
Uh,
years. You got a good job.
27. I was 27 years old, making really good money. And the day I told my dad I was quitting that job, man, he was devastated.
Yeah,
He was devastated because again, he understood. For him, his philosophy was trading time for money,
absolutely.
or basically, we say trading time for money, but companies and corporations, they don't pay you for your time; they pay you for your labor.
Yeah, right. It's even worse, right?
But again, it sounds good, trading time for money, but no, they're paying you for your labor. And my dad, he had a pension, but now we don't have the pensions. So if you don't work, you don't eat. If you don't set anything aside when you're younger, by the time you get older, you don't have that time to whereas those investments can compound. And that's why a lot of seniors end up going back into the workplace because they can't make it financial. And so the younger you are, the better off you are as far as getting this thing going. And again, it's a philosophy.
And guess what? Here's the good news. The good news is I might be among the first generation where the majority of us live to be in our 90s. But the bad news is I'm going to live to be 90. I didn't plan for that. What am I going to do? Where's that money going to come from?
Exactly. Hey, but Paul, I'll tell you what I want to talk about today is, the update of the VA benefits. Because a lot of times when people are talking about wealth and wealth accumulation, they're not thinking about veterans.
No.
They're not thinking about, that's the last thing to come to mind when you're talking about accumulating wealth. And I served in the Army, I served in the Navy. It took years, Paul, for me to apply for my VA benefits because, again, I didn't think I deserved the benefit.
That's right. We went through that in depth. If anybody hasn't heard, go back and listen to that last episode with Troy Small, who works with the Small Business Development Centers here, about VA, getting them qualified and getting them into contracts and getting them all that they're new. Something you've talked about that I didn't know about because I'm not a veteran. I just assumed that's all taken care of. You all know about that.
Right.
You did this extraordinary thing. You put your life on the line, and you're taken care of for the rest of your life. Yeah, if you apply.
And you know what? The thing is, you would think that that's just common sense or just common knowledge. But again, Troy and I, we did a podcast and we were talking about the mindset, whereas you get injured on active duty, you don't have time to bleed. You got guys walking around and he told the story where when he finally got out of the service school and went to check on his health, he had a broken hand.
Yeah. He had a broken hand, but he kept going because
kept going.
Gung ho, don't be a wimp, suck it up, keep going, no time, and this mentality. You said it once. You said, I didn't apply because I'm not missing an arm. It's only for those guys. I didn't lose a leg. I didn't step on a mine. So, those guys, sure. But you also sat on a flight deck. And man, how did that affect your hearing and other things here? What did you ingest? What were you around? What did you put yourself through all those years? A lot.
Exactly.
A lot.
But if you don't have the knowledge and you're not in those circles, it took me to be a part of this veterans reunion group that we started. And there were guys talking about their disability ratings. And that was foreign to me.
Yeah.
So as I began to ask questions and they began to volunteer information, I realized that there's a lot of veterans out there that were eligible to receive benefits that just never applied. Again, which applied to me. So when I finally applied for my benefits, I realized that even just trauma, just the trauma of being in the military, just the everyday, every time we went out on a Westpac or we're in the Indian Ocean or something, we always lost somebody. Somebody always lost their life.
Yeah.
Without fail, somebody, the person that kissed their wife or their girlfriend goodbye, they never came back. And these are people that we worked with every single day that we depended on. And now they're not here. But here's the thing, you don't have time to grieve. You're still on mission.
Got to keep going.
You keep going. So what you're doing is you're burying that trauma deeper and deeper and deeper.
Right.
And it's going to manifest itself at some time.
And there's help available. There are programs available. There is compensation available. I know it sounds horrible to say, well, okay, what is it? But the government has set aside what it can to help support, pay for, and I don't know if you can ever pay for some of the things you should go through, losing an arm or a leg.
Compensate. That's why they say it's compensate.
Yeah. But the whole idea is it's there. All you got to do is ask for it. It's not shameful. It's not secret. It's I don't know. I guess I don't know why you guys don't all do it. Why doesn't I think it's just the mentality as you keep talking about.
Again, it's the mentality and it's the mindset that we have to change. And it's that narrative that I'm okay, that I can get by. Not understanding that there's a reason why you're having these migraine headaches all the time.
Right.
There's a reason why you're trying to medicate yourself with alcohol or other substances. And so once you get into that system and then you begin to get the help that you need, then all of a sudden you reflect back and you can see it. And there's a reason why the divorce rate is so high among active duty military and veterans. There's a reason why the suicide rate is so high amongst veterans and the homeless population.
Yeah.
So the VA did something that to me is absolutely extraordinary. What they did was they changed the rule. And what they found was that a lot of people that were on active duty had stellar careers. They were serving honorably, and all of a sudden something happened. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden they started getting into trouble.
Right.
And having discipline issues. And ultimately they ended up getting out of the military. We call it the term is bad paper. Mm-hmm. Or a character discharge, other than honorable discharge, bad conduct discharge. And under the old rule, if you had an other than honorable discharge, the VA, you weren't eligible to receive benefits from the VA. Mm-hmm. And of June of 2024, they changed that.
Didn't know that.
So let me tell you why that's important.
Okay.
You had a lot of veterans that are homeless that receive those other than honorable discharges. Why? Because now you're labeled, you're branded. So you can't necessarily get that the employment.
Wow.
You're barred from certain
programs,
fields and careers and programs. You're barred from that because it's almost like somebody that they're a felon and they went to jail, but they paid their debt to society. Mm-hmm. And now they're back into the populace and they're trying to plug in and trying to get a job. But on that application, it says convicted felon. And so just based on the bias of the person that's hiring or firing, they choose not to deal with this person, even though they paid their debt to society.
Right.
So they can't plug in. So it's the same thing as far as veterans and having a bad paper discharge or OTH, other than honorable discharge, same scenario. So now you can't get that job.
Are there different levels of discharge? So walk me through that, because all I know is you get an honorable discharge or you get a dishonorable discharge.
And that's what most people understand. They know honorable discharge, but you have an honorable discharge, general under honorable conditions, other than honorable, bad conduct discharge, and a dishonorable discharge. Yeah. Now, a dishonorable discharge, you have to be, that's like espionage, spying and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a criminal. It's some sort of criminal behavior here. Yeah.
Yeah, and basically, you get that discharge with going through a court martial. Right. And they have different levels of court martials, whether it's a summary court martial, special court martial, and then a general court martial. So again, that information follows you on your DD-214.
Now, would a dishonorable discharge still allow you for benefits, or just the other categories in between?
That's a great question. Again, because under the new rule, if you have an other than honorable discharge or a bad conduct discharge, now you're eligible for benefits.
So they've expanded the benefits, right?
But my point is that's huge, Paul. It's huge because, again, there are a lot of homeless veterans that could not get the housing benefit because they had that bad paper. Now those same veterans that are homeless, that need that medical care, that may have mental health issues, can now plug into the VA system and be treated for those mental health.
So let me try and understand this.
Housed.
Let me try and understand this population of people. So these are people perhaps in the military, got into drugs. Now that leads to bad behavior and a less than honorable discharge. Not a dishonorable discharge, but one of those other ones in between. because they're
Yes.
got a drug problem. They can't kick it, and they give them a chance, and so they kick them out.
Yes.
Well, obviously, they've still got a drug problem. That's why they get kicked out, and they're going to carry that to the streets, and that's going to continue and probably add to their likelihood of becoming homeless. You're saying that population that started drugs and got kicked out and hasn't been able to kick that habit can now find resources through the VA, even though they got less than honorably discharged. Not
Because of that,
dishonorable.
because of that cause and effect relationship. I mean, a lot of times, again, you have a lot of people that join the military, men and women join the military, and they have stellar careers. But all of a sudden, they hit their limit.
Right.
They hit their limit. I can tell you a story where I was stationed in Baumholder, Germany, and my first sergeant, just based on my background, my ability to perform, you give me a task, I'm going to complete it.
Right.
And you don't have to worry about it. I mean, you got five people doing different things, but you assign French one of those tasks. You're not thinking about five things. You're only thinking about four. Because French is going to get his job done.
Pretty impressive. Okay.
But the thing is, they relied on me heavily.
Mm-hmm.
In the beginning, it was not a problem. But over a period of time, it was give it to French, give it to French, give it to French, give it to French. And it was
the
like
weight starts wearing you down.
The weight started bearing down on me. So I ended up having to go to my top sergeant, and I had, hey, look, top, everybody in my division has been on leave. We just went through this major inspection. You guys made me the standard of the entire battalion, and I got all these guys coming to me now for information and advice because I'm the standard bearer. But hey, look, I need time off just like everybody else. And the response was that, well, you know what, just suck it up and just keep
going. It's the military.
But again, at that time, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't have all the other vices that a lot of the other guys around me had, But, and my point is, it's easy to, when you're in that situation, to when you get off work, the first thing you do is what you're familiar with, and you hit that bottom.
Medicate yourself.
Medicate yourself. You numb yourself.
Right.
And so you get to a level of whereas all of a sudden now you can't perform the way you were performing, and that's going to affect your evaluations. If it affects your evaluations, it's going to affect whether or not you get promoted. If you can't get promoted over a period of time, you'll get to the point where you can't re-enlist. And so now, again, you may act out, and now you may get get some disciplinary action, and now you're out of the military, and you got this bad paper with these bad habits. And now you can't get that job, and you still got these bad habits of drinking and smoking, and mix that with aggression. And a lot of these guys, again, they end up doing something stupid, and they end up being incarcerated.
Yeah.
Which, again, bars you from VA benefits.
Gets worse. So what about people with mental disabilities too? I crack under the pressure. I'm human. You cook it, I can't. You kept going and sucked it up. If I didn't suck something else down, I blew up. And I have a breakdown. I have a nervous breakdown. I have a mental problem. You name it. You've seen it all. Now, yes. I get kicked out because I'm that person. I got mental problems. I can't stand it. We're sorry. We're trying to help you, but you're not getting anywhere. You're a broken person. And they kicked this broken person out onto the street. Normally, there would be benefits that would follow them to help support them and get them back into civilian life, but they don't have them because they had less than an honorable discharge.
Exactly.
You're saying that's changed.
Right, that's changed. And again, I'm glad to be able to be on this, use my platform to share that information with a lot of veterans. And to the veterans that are listening to me right now, this may not apply to you directly, but it applies indirectly because you know other people that you serve.
Yes, right.
And a lot of those people don't have those benefits or haven't been plugged in. And all I want you to do is ask your brothers and your sisters a question. Ask them this one question. Have you applied for your VA benefits? Or if that's too many words, just what's your disability rating? And if the answer is no,
or I don't know,
what is that? Yeah.
What?
Then, let the ding, 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 ding start listening. Let the bells go off and say, hey, look, there's a resource. I want you to, check out Tyrone French. Go to his platform, tyronefrench.coach or tyronefrench.com, or text Tyrone French to 36260 and let him help you to apply to get the benefits that you deserve. Because these are not handouts. These are things that, matter of fact, let's say if you wanted to go back to college, there's a program called the Veterans Readiness and Employment, and they find out just based on your disability rating whether you're entitled to these benefits, and they will pay for your tuition, and they'll also give you a monthly stipend to help you while you're going through this journey of getting this bachelor's degree, so that you can put yourself in a position to where you can get that better job. And also, and by the way, Paul, even once you get that degree, they have an employment placement program where they will literally help you to land your dream job.
Because they're required to give so many jobs away to veterans. A certain percentage has to be set aside, and they can't find them.
So again, it's when I see veterans that are broken. That's only other words I can use that are broken, and they're hopeless, and they think that, okay, well, this is what they told me. When I applied for my benefits, I was rejected, and they told me that I'm never going to be able to get these benefits, meaning that the people around me. But what I'm saying is that the rule has changed. So if you applied once and they disapproved your claim, reapply again. So you can literally, let me finish. You can literally go to va.gov and sign in, create a login for yourself,
right?
And you can apply for your benefits right there at va.gov. But again, you can also go to the VA and get you a VSO, which is a Veteran Service Officer that will help you to submit your claim. And so you can also use American Legion. You can go to DAVE, which is Disabled American Veterans. There's a lot of nonprofit organizations out there.
Maybe even find a coach.
Help you.
Maybe even find a coach.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll tell you what I was going to go towards is the other thing that shocked me that you and Troy were talking about. Absolutely shocked me. So this is to the veterans who are still in. Something happens. Don't just do what you both said you did. Suck it up and go on. At least go report it. Because if it's on a piece of paper and 10 years later, oh man, I am having headaches. Can't sleep. I have got these chronic conditions that
chronic back pain. Yes.
Chronic back pain. It's pretty clear that happened back then. I didn't think much about it then. I didn't report it then. And now I can't get anything for it because they can't prove it happened during that period of time because you didn't report it. You didn't report it. You're a good soldier. You didn't report it.
Exactly. So it's called evidence. So if you're on active duty military, again, don't ignore your symptoms. Don't ignore the pain. At least go to sick call and have it documented. As a matter of fact, if the situation is to whereas it's a little bit more serious, then they'll refer you to the hospital. But again, don't just overlook it. And just like sleep apnea, I know we're running out of time, but even like, let's say if you have sleep apnea, meaning that you snore when you're when you
stop breathing.
But you're literally you stop breathing so many times per minute or so many times per hour. You need to document that while you're on active duty, so that once you get out and you file your VA claim, or you file your VA claim before you get out or after you get out, you have a history of sleep apnea. That's a slam dunk claim. Tinnitus or tinnitus, ringing in the ear. I was around aircraft and field artillery. So I got this ringing in my ear, and it's been there, and there's no cure for it. So I just had to live with it, had to deal with it, and not knowing that ringing in the ear is directly connected to migraine headaches.
There you go. Wow, one leads to the other. I'll give you another one that surprised me that Troy said. I heard this. I think Troy said it. So you're on duty. Suck it up. I don't know time. Be a man. Be tough. Don't worry about it. And then later on, it turns out to be a problem, and there's no evidence. There's no trail that goes back to this. But What he said is, if you were in certain zones at certain time, combat zones and another thing, there is an assumption, even if you didn't file a claim, even if you didn't report for sick duty, if you were in this camp during that period of time, you can still file for some claims if you can prove you were there, because we know there was bad stuff in the air and the water. They're always talking about Camp Lejeune on the TV and all this stuff
Right.
here. So even still, there's other ways to file. There are more than one way to get in this. The easiest way is document everything and then apply when you get out.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't want to make this political,
Right.
but under the Biden administration, they have what's called the PAC Act. And so a lot of Vietnam veterans, you're talking about Vietnam, you're talking about Agent Orange.
Right.
And so again, even with certain toxins and burn pits.
Burn pits. That's what he thinks his son died of being around a burn pit. Yeah. Biden.
Yes. So those claims are presumptive claims, just like certain cancers are presumptive.
Right.
Prostate cancer, presumptive. So again, you have help. So don't worry about if you filed a claim, you had bad paper, you had an OTH, a bad conduct discharge. Now the VA, they changed the rules. So now what they're going to do. Now here's the thing. They're not going to change the as far as your discharge. They're not going to change the discharge whether it was other than honorable or bad conduct. What they're doing is allowing you to receive the benefits.
There you go.
Allowing you to see those
Makes
benefits.
sense.
So like I said, it's huge, Paul. And the more veterans that know about this, the better.
Tell your friends, tell your buddies, tell those people you still know and hanging out with, and you know that there's something wrong and they're not doing anything about it. Tell them. It's there.
But again, and if you have a hard time, just send them to the coach. TyroneFrench.com, TyroneFrench.coach, or text Tyrone French to 36260, and I will point them in the right direction.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell us today? I think that's a powerful enough statement. That's going to take enough people to think about that and hopefully take action about it here.
Well, again, I just want people to know that this show is closing the wealth gap, and having those VA benefits is another avenue of Tyrone French helping people to close the wealth gap.
That's our show for this week. Closing the Wealth Gap. The one show, the only show that shows you how to take control of your financial future. Right here in Orange County's only community radio station, OCTalkRadio.net.